Hello, this is Daniel Raymond, the voice behind Ray's Guide, and I thought that with 3.18 inching closer to live release, I would update my thoughts on PvP with it in mind. Because 3.18 will change PvP in ways that it won't really be evident until we see it going weeks without a new patch resetting the database. Let me start with clarifying what I mean by certain terms. PvP is any game activity which pits one player's skill directly against another player's skill. This is opposed to game activities which pit a player's skill against a challenge created by the game, PvE. Pretty much any activity that people will care about, they will eventually want to show off who is better than who. This is normal human being thing. Game designers will need to come up with a way that is constructive to the game, or players will come up with a way to do it anyhow that won't be so constructive to the game. Now, there are some antisocial forms of gameplay which technically fall under PvP, but isn't actually about players pitting their skills against each other. The first are players who are simply having fun out of making others miserable. Who is actually better than who is irrelevant. In fact, if they can get a cheese win, it is all the better because it makes the other person even more angry. I call this sadistic gameplay. It is not saying that all PvP players are sadistic, but clearly there is an antisocial subset of them that are. And then there are folks who aren't necessarily playing to make one person miserable, but to make the whole game suffer. This antisocial subset of PvP are basically saying the game is lame, and if I can't win, I will beat the game by destroying it and make sure nobody else can enjoy it either. It's the computer version equivalent of kicking over the table in a tantrum. I call this sociopathic gameplay. And again, not all, but it is an antisocial subset of PvP. The thing about sadistic and sociopathic gamers is you can't correct them with the usual levers of game design, the carrots and sticks. And that is because to them, everything in the game is lame and irrelevant to them. The only choice is either hope that they'll get bored and leave, or ban them. Now, piracy, separately from PvP, is a career path in which advancement is gained by stealing from ships either by force or trickery. Piracy has always been an advertised gameplay element in Star Citizen, but until 3.18, there really hasn't been much actual game behind it. As a result, a lot of stuff has been excused as piracy when it was just shooting up ships for fun. Imagine if mining allowed you to blow up rocks but not actually get any ore out of them. That was kind of the state of piracy in most of Star Citizen 3.0 through 3.17. And some people just justified purely sadistic things as saying, hey, piracy is part of the game. But not in 3.18. In 3.18, thanks to a lot of work by CIG, we have a real piracy feature set in the game. There is disabling, there is boarding, there is looting, there is even stealing the ship itself, or at least its hull, and there is a clear path for those things to be expanded on in the future. So we now have a justification called BS on anybody using piracy to justify antisocial behavior. You're not pirates. We have piracy, we know what it looks like, and it is not what you were doing. So your behavior does not have any sort of protected status because piracy is allowed in the game. But much more than just piracy is being opened up. As I've said for a long time, the primary PvP structure in Star Citizen, if it's going to be successful, can't be predators versus prey, because being prey isn't fun. It instead needs to be predators versus protectors, with the prey instead being more like the prize. And frankly, there has been a lot opened up for the role of the protector in 3.18, and I'm not so much talking about the constant escort, because that is indeed tedious, a gameplay where success means nothing happened, but rather the emergency piracy response team. We've seen an emergent gameplay surrounding combat medic teams, and I see that as a potential template for the piracy response team. And part of the reason for this is that there's a lot more that a player can offer the rescuers than before. They can be offered a share of the cargo that's being recovered, and they can be offered the rights to salvage the hull, plus any bounties on the defeated pirates and salvaging their hulls too. And with persistence, this can be extended over more than one game session, and even have back and forth control struggles between the pirate group and the protector group, even if the original owner of the freighter is no longer present. There's a lot of room for emergent gameplay in the umbrella of pirates versus protectors. Now, what would a team of players wanting to do this role of pirate response team look like? Perhaps as an expansion of their current role of doing medical response. Well, they would need a craft capable to readily defeat or scare off most pirate teams. Ideally one that could also support counterboarding actions, help in the offloading and recovering of cargo, and have a medical facility to be able to heal any casualties happening during the action. Have you guessed what I'm thinking about? In my opinion, it's a fully crewed carrack with a Pisces. Would be the ideal ship for such a team, with perhaps a vulture or even a reclaimer on call for the hull scraping, both of the original derelict and all those sad ex-pirate ships. And rather than just sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring, they might take PvE bounty and bunker missions to help keep the coin flowing and the skills honed. So what could CIG do to support this kind of gameplay? Well, one suggestion I've made in the past is to make creating a combat assistance beacon be as simple as a hotkey. The Mobiglass app would be used to set the default reward. And if they wanted to take it a step further, the system could create a list of all the hostiles nearby and their ships, so anybody accepting the combat assistance beacon would know what they are getting into. Also, if there are any available bounty contracts on the hostiles nearby, to add them to the reward, and accepting the combat assistant beacon also accepts the bounty hunting contracts, adding to the value. And it isn't even as though the new piracy features are the only PvP item added to 3.18. There's also Security Post Korea, which at least can be a great PvP playground. And the Korea represents a prototype of a whole new type of mission, retake location, which will undoubtedly be used to create even more locations for PvP action as we go forward. So in summary, there is a lot of piracy gameplay being added in 3.18 as well as counter-piracy gameplay. So we can call BS on the whole lot of frankly nonsense behavior being justified by saying, hey, it's piracy. It's not, never was, and now we have the real thing available. Now for an update on our giveaways. We now have 2 ship giveaways and 1 skills contest. The first is the 10,000 subscriber thank you for the LTI Hull C, the colossal cargo container carrying craft, to be given away as soon as the sea becomes flyable in the verse. And then there's our big giveaway for the winner's choice of either the Galaxy Complete, the massive modular mining moving medical machine, or that brand new big box bargain bazaar called the Merchantman. 1 entry per video for both of those drawings. Just be a member and subscribe and comment with the secret word. And the secret word for this video is pirates versus what? Plus, we have, perhaps for not much longer, our waiting for 3.18 piloting skills contest for the most amazing landing of a ship Hercules size or larger in 3.17. See the video in the description for details on that. Fly safe, keep it real, and I'll see you in the verse. This is Danny Raymond for Ray's Guide.